Welcome to the channel. What do I do here? I don't know. I'm just kind of throwing rocks, seeing what makes the biggest splash. If you find yourself enraptured by this kind of content, well then, you're super weird, but welcome. You'll fit right in. Something important up front, this is not a rigorous scientific exploration of anything. It's more of a layman's exploration of information that I've picked up over the years. I'm just running it through logically with very minimal research other than like the images that I'm going to show you. What I'm trying to do above all else is inspire people to find interest in some of these topics that I find interesting, because for the most part, most of the population doesn't seem to know or care about the vast majority of interesting shit. Excuse me. The world's full of mysteries and unknown things and just weird stuff that can't really be explained. It can only be speculated upon. And I think it's a shame that more people don't engage with it. So yeah, find you like this kind of content, subscribe, like, share, whatever. 40,000 years ago, hunter-gatherer tribes were scratching out a living pretty much however they could. They were following herds, they were taming fires, stitching clothing together with bone needles. And bear in mind, this was 40,000 years ago. They were stitching together vests and pants and, I mean, maybe underwear, not real sure. I mean, it's crazy to me to think that 40,000 years ago people were doing this. At this time, they traveled in groups of 20 to 50, generally made up of like family units. Lots of incest going on, I imagine. It was tough by modern standards, but humans are extremely capable, and I imagine that people in that time probably considered the difficulty of their lives about the same as we consider the difficulties in our lives, but the scale is vastly different. I mean, different problems, different solutions kind of deal. The difference is people back then, their day-to-day lives were life-threatening. I mean, issues that they had to deal with. I mean, mammoths running around stepping on toes, and you know, competing tribes, I imagine, trying to get the same freaking dinner. But yeah, that's not the problems we have today. Today we go walk our dogs, and if you don't pick up the crap, you might get into some heated exchange with your neighbor. But you know, it's not life-threatening by any means, unless you live in like New York City. Then leaving your house can probably get you killed. At this time, 40,000 years ago, Homo sapiens, us, we're not the only brand of people still on the earth. Much of North America, North Europe, and Asia was still covered in ice sheets, but the lands are still populated, kinda, I guess. In Europe and Asia, the Neanderthals are still around, and in Asia, the Denisovians still lived, which is pretty crazy. Just a little quick image there to show you what. I don't think that looks like us at all, but you know, according to AI, that's what each of the lineage of species looks like. Australia had even had population by then, which means 40,000 years ago, somebody freaking hollowed out a tree and jumped it in the water and then decided to go across over to Australia. Either that, they were just like epic swimmers and had nothing better to do, or maybe they were chasing fish. I don't know, but regardless, they landed up over in Australia and started pretty much just roaming around over there too. That's all people had to do back then, was roam around, kill animals, and make weird stuff out of bones. Around the same time, cave paintings started showing up in places like Chauvet, which I think is in France. Ornaments were being made. Necklaces were being made from shells and teeth. Musical instruments were even being carved. And Venus statues, which is probably the strangest thing that I've come across speculatively. We'll get into that. The fact that these things started showing up doesn't really surprise me, but what has me scratching my head is like what exactly prompted the creation of these things. I mean, some of it's an easy logic leap, like it's cold outside and you're hunting a deer and you think, well, you know, it's got fur, so maybe if I take its fur and put it on my own body, it'll keep me warm. Or a mammoth or whatever it is they use. Big animals with long hair. That makes perfect sense to me, but things like necklaces and musical instruments I have a harder time with. I guess necklaces and ornaments can be like, you know, you claim what you kill kind of thing, and status symbols and whatnot, but musical instruments, I mean, there's no survival purpose to that other than I mean, things that are currently not attributed to something that they would do, like signaling or communication and things like that. As far as I'm aware, right now, we don't really consider people 40,000 years ago to have been capable of that yet. So I don't know. They found a decomposed bird and decided to start blowing through its bones for whatever reason. It's like, that's interesting. Let's see if we can make different sounds with it. Maybe. I mean, maybe. Humans are curious people. We're a curious race. I'm getting excited and ahead of myself. Sorry about that. Humans are a curious race. So, I mean, there is a certain factor of, that's built into that. So, I mean, I guess that's probably the most likely answer. The earliest found musical instruments are, I don't even want to kill the word, but Aurignacian flute, the Hofels flute, and the Jiv baby flute. Yeah, settle down the laughing. I know I killed it. There's one of them, and there is the other one. Those are 40,000 years old, found in caves over in Germany. I mean, it looks pretty obvious that those are flutes. That at 40,000 years ago, there's unquestionably musical instruments in caves, along with cave paintings. Like basically what I'm getting at is that entertainment started becoming a thing, and with the whole survival lifestyle that they had, I just don't understand why this was ever created, unless it was just evolution of human brains, because they had the same brain structure as we do now. So I'm sure that they still had curiosity and interest and all that. Maybe not introspection on the level that we got, but I mean, the point is, yes, it's completely possible that this stuff just appeared, but it's just so hard for me to visualize the need for it or the thing that prompted it to begin with. I did make a post about the flutes in Germany, but it's on my Substack, which I'm not going to link to here. Ornaments and jewelry, that's another easy one. I already went over that. You claim what you kill kind of mentality. You kill a swordfish and you take its nose and put it around your neck. Yeah, I get it. I killed a swordfish. Everybody's got to know it. The Venus statues, though, these things were found in burial sites. I don't have a picture of it loaded up, of course. But let's just say that the Venus statues were depicting plump women, or women that's maybe in a state of pregnancy, I guess. Large breasts, large hips, large rear end, and stuff like that. And the people of that time, I assume, since they were traveling nomad bands, weren't really built like that. Even in pregnancy, there's probably a certain level of fitness that's going to be attributed to these women. But then again, tribes people today that are in Africa and Australia, they're not exactly the fittest of looking people. I mean, granted, they probably have far more stamina than I do, but they're not the state of these Venus statues, which I'm really kind of pissed off I didn't load up a picture of that. But they're depicting a form that I don't think was really a thing back then. So I struggle with what their purpose was. And you add the fact that, like I said, they were found in burial sites. So were they a status symbol? Were they like a clan identifier, or were they like religious ornament because they are, being buried with them? So is that like an afterlife adjacent kind of thing, or is it just like the grandmother of the clan? Because even now, families respect the elder generations for the most part. Society's going to hell, but for the most part, I think that if you've got a grandmother of 3 generations, she's still getting the most respect out of any family at the cookout. So I mean, it's easy for me to think that, yeah, maybe that's all it is, just a status symbol. It was a mother that gave birth to a lot of people in the clan, and that's why they buried her with her, because it was a status symbol, like a shaman, only for birth, a birth shaman. But I really don't know. That's really what piqued my interest with this. Let's see. It's odd to think, for me, 40,000 years ago, a group of 20 to 50 people sitting around a cave, working on a flute, playing a flute, maybe making shadow figures on the walls, doing cave paintings, entertaining themselves. Because it's just, for me, in my modern lens, 40,000 years ago, I have a hard time attributing them to the same kind of working brains that we have, and doing the same activities with limited resources and what they had. But I guess I guess it's possible, but what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. And yeah, have a nice day.